The world of NBA has been heating up recently, but all of this fuss over LeBron James has made things much worse. LeBron hasn't had the best month or so, and fans are noticing. So, what happened to him with all this conflict? Well, stay tuned, as today we're going to cover NBA chaos as LeBron's ejected after elbow leaves rival bloodied, Sparks all-in brawl, and some other NBA news. First up, LeBron James, Isaiah Stewart suspended over clash. Easily the biggest star in the NBA, LeBron James will now miss the next game against the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden after recklessly hitting Stewart in the face and initiating an on-court altercation. This was a decision announced by the president of league operations, Byron Spruill. This is only the second time in LeBron's entire career that he's been suspended, but it makes complete sense when you look into the incident. This was an ugly incident in the third period, which actually left Isaiah Stewart bleeding from a wound above his eye. Journalists stated he clearly caught Stewart with an elbow as they battled for position at a free throw, but Stewart then escalated things and went after the perennial all-star, drawing multiple technical fouls and also being ejected from the game. James will miss Tuesday night's game against the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden for recklessly hitting Stewart in the face and initiating an on-court altercation in a decision announced by President of League Operations, Byron Spruill. Isaiah Stewart's 2-game suspension will also mean he will miss a home date with Miami Heat later on next week. He's pretty new to the sport after being drafted back in 2020, but that didn't stop him from clashing with one of the greats at this point in his NBA career. He was found guilty of escalating an on-court altercation by repeatedly and aggressively pursuing Los Angeles Lakers forward LeBron James in an unsportsmanlike manner. After the game was said and done, the Pistons coach, Dwayne Casey, believed that Stewart should not have been punished at all, and it wasn't his fault because James provoked him. Casey later said, "He's a great kid, but he felt like he got cheap-shotted across his brow, and on the street, it would have been a different story." You can tell he believes that Isaiah really did nothing wrong. The league is making a big mistake in his eyes. What do you think? Let us know down below what you think about this whole incident. Everyone knows that LeBron was in the wrong on this one. But what about Isaiah? Let us know. Next up, what happened after the game? After the game, it looked like things were getting a little worse in the NBA community. We may have seen LeBron James go over and apologize to Stewart, but that seemingly wasn't enough. He was having none of it, and even had to physically be held back from James. It was also announced that the PA announcers had to take action and remind fans to stay in their seat as things escalated on the court. They were also implored to not throw anything at either of the players as they left through the tunnels. "Fans, stay in your seat, do not come onto the floor," he said. "Do not enter the floor. All fans, stay in your seats. Do not come onto the floor and do not throw any objects. Don't do it or you will be nabbed and sent to jail. Stay where you are." According to Anthony Davis, he had never seen Stewart act like that in his entire career. He even added that James tried to apologize further by stating, "My bad," but clearly that wasn't enough for Stewart. Davis also went on to ask about James, stating, "He isn't a bad guy. Everyone in the league knows LeBron is not a dirty guy," he said post-game. "You got cut above the eye. It wasn't on purpose. We wasn't sick going to allow him to keep charging LeBron." Even those outside of the game and are fans of LeBron know he isn't a bad guy. James is one of the biggest NBA players of all time, and he's like a god to people. It may be hard seeing this go down with James right now, but people need to remember this isn't the normal actions of him. It seems like this was just a fluke again, as he has been suspended only once before. If LeBron was like this all the time, we would have heard about it in the news much more often. He clearly just made a mistake this time and has been appropriately punished for it. Sadly, this wasn't the best outcome for his team, as it didn't look good for them just a few days later. And now the Lakers lose after James' loss. You might think that things couldn't get worse for the Lakers after LeBron James was just suspended, but the day later they lost their match without their supreme player. There was more misery for them after they suffered their 4th defeat in the past 5 games. Things just aren't going their way right now. Evan Fournier went on to score 26 points to lead the New York Knicks in double figures over the Lakers. They were trying to win because they knew without LeBron that they had a much better chance. This obviously worked, as without their leader and top player, the Lakers crumbled for the 4th time as of recent. It's sad to see because the Lakers are seen as one of the best teams out there right now. They should be fine without LeBron, and actually usually are. They are all great players, and without LeBron, they have more than enough skill to take a game. Sadly, things didn't go so well for them. Having James suspended clearly left them in dire spirits, and they just couldn't handle what was thrown onto them. Next, LeBron James sidelined by NBA COVID-19 protocols as superstar expected to miss several games. As if things couldn't get any worse for LeBron James, he is now expected to miss even more games. He said earlier this season that he is actually vaccinated. He has either tested positive for COVID-19 or has an inconclusive result. Many sources have stated that James is now expecting to miss out on multiple games because of this. The official NBA news site stated, if James tested positive, he would likely be looking at a minimum of 10 days away from the Lakers unless he returns 2 negative PCR tests in a 24-hour span. The Lakers learned of James's situation Tuesday morning. Coach Frank Vogel said and arranged for transportation to take him to Los Angeles from Sacramento. Obviously, it's a huge loss, Vogel said before Tuesday's game. It's disappointing. We just want the best for him now. That's where our thoughts are. Also, it looks like his teammate may have let slip a few things by accident. During post-game interviews, his teammate Anthony Davis stated that he's said he's good. I think he's asymptomatic, which is a good sign, but we want to make sure that he gets back. Health is most important. That is bigger than basketball. He has a family. We want to make sure that he's good no matter what. This kind of makes it seem like LeBron may have tested positive for the virus or is at least ill with something. It isn't looking good for LeBron, but time will tell what has actually happened with the player. And that's the end of the video. It looks like LeBron has a tough time ahead of going into next year's season and the early games of next year. He has just been suspended not long ago, and now he possibly has COVID or is in some way pretty ill. It takes something big to get the biggest NBA star and player in the world to step down for a few games, so it's definitely not just random illness. It looks like he is keeping things a secret for now though, which makes sense as he is a really big star. Getting COVID as a superstar is much harder than you might think, as you may lose so many different opportunities and the public might see you a little differently. It also looks like LeBron's battle with Isaiah is calming down, as no one is really mentioning right now. LeBron tries to sort things out between the two, but Isaiah clearly didn't want any of it. It's kind of sad that he doesn't want to sort things out, as they are adults and professional sports stars. This will probably come up the next time the two go head-to-head. This could also be the start of a long rivalry between the two, as Isaiah clearly doesn't want to sort things out with the NBA superstar. Hopefully this doesn't last that long, as it's not great for the game or for the industry. The fans might want to see a little fight now and then, but overall, it's not a great look for either player or even the NBA. Hopefully you enjoyed this latest video. If you did, would you please let us know down in the comment section below? It would be very helpful. Make sure to like this video, comment down below, and of course, subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye.